my gosh. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Say More podcast. Today is the first time that I'm actually doing solo. It's also very last minute. I got a new mic and I just really wanted to try it and tested my camera. And I was like, wait, this looks really cozy right now. And it just made me realize that I wanted to maybe just do one on the spot. But basically, I just wanted to kind of catch you guys up on what's been happening in my life lately, how I've been doing since my last few podcasts, and then diving into the topic of, navigating our 20s or figuring out, choices in our lives that at some point may feel like, or we may start questioning, like, is this the right decision? Is this the right thing to do right now? And kind of just going from there, because I feel like I can really relate to that right now with this big change that I've just recently made, which is moving out. I'm now living solo, if you guys don't know. And yeah, so kind of just diving into that. I'll try to keep this short, but knowing me, I will yap. I do have my peppermint tea here. If you know me, you know I always have a peppermint tea at night. It just helps me relax and digest what I've had for dinner and the snacks in between that. All right. So, it's been 3 months now since I moved out of my parents' house. As I've said, it wasn't an easy adjustment. It definitely was a roller coaster of emotions. I feel like so many things has happened. I've grown so much as well since I've moved out, is what I feel like. And every day I'm still figuring out, things here and there, but I generally can say that I think I am in a much better headspace now than I was when I first moved out. But I guess, where do I start? What has helped me this past few months with the moving? Honestly, I think it was just kind of giving myself grace and, understanding that it's not a linear process for everyone, or in general. For some people it's easier. For some it may take longer to adjust well, and I think for me, like I said, it took me a bit longer than expected, but I think one thing that's really helped me was just kind of being honest about my feelings, opening up to my friends and my family about it, and also been very, very grateful for the community that I have behind me, because I feel like, it is a safe space and I can just have this conversation with them and they're willing to listen. So yeah, second, I feel like, is just really trying to keep myself busy, and it's not even to kind of avoid feeling the emotions. I feel like it's more to kind of do the things that I've always wanted to do, but with more free time, because it's just me, I basically do what I want. But in saying that as well, like, it's so easy to fall off a routine, especially that there's no one keeping you accountable except yourself. But something, that really helped me was just keeping myself busy, so I'm not just sitting there and, overthinking actually about so many different things, which is something that I do a lot. So one thing that I've done was sign up for the gym again. I literally live like 30 seconds from my gym, which is really good. So no excuses now, but I feel like that's really helped me because it gives me a sort of routine. It keeps me going after work. Sometimes, obviously, I'm more motivated to go. Some days I'm just like, oh, do I really want to? Especially now that it's winter. It's such a struggle to just like change from your work clothes to the gym clothes and then making your way there, and just, I feel like it's extra effort, but I have been showing up and I have been feeling good. So that's helped me as well. Another thing I feel like would be cooking. I feel like I've always loved cooking, but more so now that I actually have the kitchen to myself, it's my own space and I get to decide what I want to make and just all that stuff. And I genuinely have been really enjoying it. I do want to start learning how to bake though. I've tried, but my oven is not the best. And so I've yet to try baking in my air fryer. I did buy like a smaller container, like pan that fits there. So when I'm back for my trip that's coming up, which I will talk about in a little bit and fill you guys in, I will try baking in my air fryer. But yeah, it's been very busy. I feel like the last few weeks just really picked up, and I did pray for it. And it's really what I needed, but like, dang, I do need a little break, to be honest. So I'm really looking forward to that trip. And of course, lastly, I feel like I have kind of just been closer to God lately, which is something that I've always set as a goal every year, every new year. It's like, it's always on my, New Year's resolution is to strengthen my faith and be more active in the church and just learn about my religion more and just, but I feel like it was so easy to kind of put that as last before, because I feel like my solo time in the day when I was living back home and when I was flatting or whatever, was like just at the end of the day, and I rather would use that scrolling or journaling or editing my videos rather than just praying. And I just saying that out loud, it makes me feel a little bit embarrassed, and but no one's perfect. But now, like, I find myself actually feeling bad, and I did feel bad before, but like now, like, I get sad that I didn't have that 10-15 minutes in the morning with Jesus, and then at the end of the day I missed that again. And not to say don't have days that I still don't miss that in the morning and at night, because I do get tired easily these days and I fall asleep right away and I get busy, like I said. But I feel like now I actually do find myself like generally wanting to learn more, be more active in the church. 2 weeks ago, I just had this feeling, and I've always had it in my bucket list, which is to attend a Latin mass. And I've always just put that as last, because the one that's near us, it's every Friday at 7 p.m. And when I was living at my parents', it would be a good 20 minutes commute one way. And so just the thought of, getting dressed again after a long day of work, because it's 7 p.m. and it's a Friday, and then driving, and it's just all the logistics. I was like, what, I can't be bothered. But now it's just 7 minutes away from me, and not even with just a distance, but just, I don't know what it was, but I'm not complaining, because this is, this is what I really wanted, was to strengthen my faith, and I'm glad this is happening for me now. But yeah, going back to the last few weeks, like, I just had that feeling of like, well, like, today is the day I want to do it. Like, I want to go to a Latin mass, and I'm really excited. And so I actually texted my mom at like my lunch break, during my lunch break that day, and I just invited her, and I was like, Ma, do you want to go to a Latin mass with me later? Gave her the details, and we went together. So that was a really nice time with my mama, and I pray to have more times like that as well. And yeah, and so I feel like that has really helped me. So I feel like there's always good after a chaotic period, like the last few weeks when I moved in to this apartment definitely wasn't easy. But over time, it's just finding that groove, finding that routine. And yeah, I feel like I'm back to myself now. Found my spark again. I've been vlogging more, been excited to come home. And I feel like I've started to pick up on a routine that I have for myself. And yeah, so I feel like that's just me. And yeah, so when I come back from my trip, I will be hosting more, and or will be planning to host more, to having friends over, because that's something I really wanted to do when I first planned on moving out. I have been doing like monthly dates with one of my best friends and her girlfriend, and they come over, just hang out. So we've done it twice now since moving into this apartment. And the recent one, we brought a dish each. So I had the main dish, and they requested for my seafood boil, and they really loved it. And then my other friend brought chicken nibbles, and then her girlfriend brought the yummiest banoffee pie ever. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, and so just things like that to kind of help me settle in. But basically, that's really been it. Other than that, just keeping myself busy with the old routines and the old things that I've been doing. But with this trip, so basically I'm off to the Philippines next week. It will be for my grandma's 75th birthday, as well as like a celebration of life, kind of, because she beat cancer about 5-6 years ago, and it was a challenging time for the whole family. And just seeing her and that vulnerable, be as vulnerable as that was just very confronting. But she's doing so much better, and this is the first like big family reunion that we'll have in like 19 or 20 years or whatever. We won't be all complete, but it's still a big number compared to the last times that I've been home. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And then on the way back, my sister and I are stopping over at Singapore for a few days because I've always wanted to go, but I've never been. And then on the way back, we're stopping at Bangkok, Thailand as well for just a few days. So that's that. That's basically how I've been lately, filling you guys in. But lately though, or I guess just diving into the topics now and the questions that I've kind of come up for this podcast, just wanted to talk about how like lately I've been thinking a lot about how there's so many decisions that we make in life, and it's weird because when we're younger we kind of just follow what's happening in our lives, parents getting a new job elsewhere, so we have to move, and then this and that. But now we reach a certain age and we actually have to make that decision ourselves. And I don't know about you guys, but it's so overwhelming for me. And I'm very grateful to be in a position where I do get that privilege to decide and choose what I want to do with my life, and that there's more out there, for me. And yeah, so very grateful for that. But with the many decisions in life, I feel like we also delay a lot of things because we're scared of making a certain decision, taking a risk, and being scared of failing or making the wrong decision or it not working out, or sometimes maybe just being judged because with social media these days, I feel like everyone posts their whole lives on social media, and for them to see you do this and do that, someone will always say something. So that could also be another reason why. But with this recent change in my life, which is moving into my own apartment, living solo, one thing that I've realized is that we will never be fully ready. And I feel like that alone is just a good enough reason to just do it. And I know it's easier said than done because, trust me, I've been in that position where, I thought I really wanted something and I did it. And then now that I'm doing it, I was like, wait, did I just make the wrong decision? Did I commit, into doing something that I didn't think about, deeply, or, just consider this and that? And like, I think I came to a point where I was just like fatigued. Like I became fatigued with just the thoughts and the overthinking. And I think that's what made the first 3 weeks of moving out really hard, because I wasn't seeing the change that I wanted to see. And that was, the social aspect, creating a more stable routine, like going to the gym and, this and that. So it was so easy for me not to see the value of the move in terms of money, because obviously I'm renting, I'm spending money, and I feel that way, and I'm like, if I'm gonna be sad, I could have just stayed home. You know what I mean? And so that was basically one of my realizations. But then I'm like, you know what? If I did stay home, there would still be that, thought of, wait, what if I did do that? How would I feel? And so I don't know about you guys, but that really just like hit me. And I think I've always been like this. Even though I'm like the anxious type, I feel like I'm also like a risk taker in some way. But with that recent like event and experience, it made me realize like I'd rather do it than not, because I don't want to live a life where there's, those what ifs. And I read something from a Substack. I don't know if you guys are on Substack. My sister told me about that actually. And it just talked about how, like, to sum it all up, and I can't remember the exact words that they used, but like, life will always be black or white, like it's never going to be gray. If you don't do that, whatever you want to do, you're always going to wonder. If you did do it, or if you do it, you're still going to wonder. So like, where do you want to be? Like, which one would you rather feel? And you just kind of have to go for it, because like I said, like, for me personally, I'd rather say like, oh, okay, at least I did that. It didn't work out. I'll try again next time, or at least I tried, rather than, oh, what if I did do that? What would have happened? And like I said earlier, even though I wasn't all sunshine and rainbows and butterflies in the first few weeks, I've grown so much since I moved out, like literally. Like, I feel like I wasn't the same person that I was 3 months ago. And so I really had to like shift my mindset when I started thinking about when I was like overthinking about not seeing the value of the move and feeling scared that I made the wrong decision, and like, the thought of being committed to this apartment for a whole year because I'm on a lease, like that just, yeah, I don't know. It just gave me that perspective of, like, I'd rather do this, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay. At least I did it. But it's better to sit at home and wonder. And also, I feel like the growth that I've experienced or that I made in the last 3 months, I feel like I wouldn't have made that at home. And like I said, I feel like we'll never ever be ready, We'll never find that gray spot. It'll always be black or white, this or that. Stay at home or move out. And I feel like, like they say, if it's not now, when, And it's just kind of having that conversation with yourself and thinking like, okay, yeah, what do I want for myself? What do I want to see in the next year? And kind of, I guess, going from there. So that's what I would say in terms of the decision making. It's easier said than done, but I feel like you just have to do it for yourself. You just have to do it to see it for yourself. Other than that, though, like, what decision have I been scared to make, and what exactly was I afraid of? Is another follow-up question to that topic. I feel like I said, like, I feel like I'm sort of a risk taker, but I do like security in a way as well. So it really is tough for me, at least, because it's not a good combination to have and to feel. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say in that, or, to add to that question. But also, I think this is also why our 20s can feel so confusing, because we're trying to build a life while still trying to figure it out, And I am holding on to what they are saying, that it does get really better in your 30s. Like, 30s is the new 20s, is what they're saying. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, but I'm also trying to enjoy my 20s. I think my 20s have been good so far. Not to jinx it or anything, but I mean, if we like put it in a scale, I feel like 80% of my 20s have been really good, and there's that 20% of feeling that seasonal depression, feeling stuck, all that stuff. And like I said, I feel like social media plays a role in all of that. I'm very guilty. When I'm over my thoughts and overthinking and just, yeah, I tend to delete my social media, especially my Instagram. And then I just have that like week or two reset, sometimes longer. And I always feel better. And that's how I know that it's really what we see and what we let ourselves consume through social media that's impacting our mental health. Because like I mentioned earlier, everyone posts their lives on social media. I love to post online, but it's for my like keepsakes. And it could be the same for, everyone else or the friends that we have on social media. But it is very easy to kind of compare where we're at, in comparison to what we're seeing on social media. Like for myself, I'm 26. I'm not married. I don't have a boyfriend. But then I open social media and friends my age, are getting engaged, having babies, moving abroad, all that stuff. And so I think to myself, I'm like, wait, I feel like I should have all those as well by now. But then I pull myself back into that thought of who said I should have all those things by now? And so in saying that, I feel like we're the ones putting pressure on ourselves. And I mean, as obvious as it can be, but I just think that, we need to give ourselves grace. You, a year ago, was probably not the same person that you are now. Personally, I feel like I wasn't the same person I was a year ago, even though I still remember that version of myself so vividly. But I feel like I've grown so much since then, and a lot of things has happened since then as well. So you have to give yourself grace. You've come such a long way, and guys, people only post good things on social media. There was this incident, I'm not going to share it out here, but there was an incident that happened a few months ago to me, and it just was, I was like, I was basically just going through it the first few months of the year. And when I posted a dump on social media, I just posted like the good things that happened during that month. And then I had this conversation with my work bestie, and I forgot how we got to talking about that specific topic, but I was like, you know what, you're right, because when that specific event happened to me, I didn't post about that. I only posted the good things that happened that month. And so how am I to know that the people posting all this stuff on social media didn't have a bad time too? And not to say that that makes me feel better, but it's a reality check that not everything we see online is actually genuine. And if it is as well, those people, it probably wasn't easy for them to get where they are now. And so everyone's just going through it in their own little way. So you just have to give yourself grace, honestly. But I guess in saying that though, the new term that's going around social media right now is like romanticizing your 20s, romanticizing your life, your week, whatever. I feel like the word romanticizing is the word of this generation, and I love it. I actually love it because you're right. How can we romanticize our life? Like life is too short. We need to be happy and find ways to make us happy. And how to make those mundane days feel a little special. And and so I think For me personally, I romanticize my 20s by traveling a lot. I love to travel. Um, but then now I'm employed as well. So it's so hard to find time because I'm tied to this job majority of the year and I only have this specific time that I'm allowed to travel, or I'll be unemployed. So it's kind of like bittersweet because I love my profession as well. But then I'm like, but I also love this other hobby. So how do I find the balance? And so I think for me, it's just finding, like with the balance, I think it's just setting aside time every now and then to do what I want, which is traveling. And so maybe every 6 months, find a big trip or do a big trip. And yeah, I feel like that's enough to kind of keep me going until the next one. Another way that I feel like I romanticize my 20s is that I take myself on solo dates. I'm actually one of those people who actually enjoy going on solo dates. I know a few people who get anxious when they're seen solo in public or they eat out in public by themselves and they're just not comfortable doing those solo things. For me, I love it. And it's not even because I'm kind of used to it now. It's just I love the solitude that I get, the peace that I get, and like just the thought of not having to compromise with anyone else, and just doing whatever you want to do, especially like when I'm traveling. Being solo and doing traveling, like being a solo traveler is so good. If you guys haven't tried it yet, that would be like my biggest suggestion, recommendation in your 20s, especially now. I feel like you have to try solo traveling at least once in your life. You learn so much about yourself, how you deal with certain situations, when you're stressed, when you're happy, when you're excited, how do you feel anxious? What do you do when you feel anxious? What do you enjoy doing by yourself? And what is it that you do that, that you do when no one is around? And and so those two things I feel like something I really like to do. What else? How do I romanticize my 20s? I guess just not taking everything so seriously, and I'm still learning like how to fully do that because I'm someone who overthinks a lot and I tend to make things, overthink. But like, for example, like your job, I feel like you can love your job. You can be so good at your job, but like, don't take it too seriously. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm saying this because I've had a few colleagues so where I work, there's a lot. It's the population is a bit older than I am, majority of it. Slowly though, we're getting a lot of younger, professionals in that space, which is really good. But majority of it still is a bit older than me, and a few of my colleagues have retired in the last few months. This recent one this week, she retired and she's been there 28 years. And when we were planning her farewell party, we were discussing like, putting money towards this and that and the gift and the food. And then our manager went on and said, oh yeah, I'm happy to put money down, and with your contributions, we should be able to get this and that. And then, state company, I'm not going to say it, but the organization is also happy to chip in $200. $200 for 28 years. Like, that is just so crazy to me. And then it kind of like became an inside joke for a few days between my colleagues and I. And just the thought of just being recognized for $200, like, not saying that was her worth, but like, honestly, they could have done better, and then we just like went on and calculate that divided by 28 years. So basically every year she racked up $7.40, or you do the math, something around like just under $8. Like what? And so yeah, I feel like, and that's why I'm saying, like, don't take your job too seriously, because at the end of the day, you're just another number in the company. Call in sick if you're like, want to enjoy the sunshine outside. As long as you're doing your work, don't take it too seriously, honestly. And I feel like that is the motto I live by. And I do have like colleagues who's very passionate about the profession and the job. And I feel like I am as well, but not to an but only to an extent. Like, and sometimes I do feel bad, and I feel guilty, because I'm like, wait, should I be as passionate as them? But then reality check, I'm like, wait, like, I'm doing my work, everything's getting done, like, I'm showing up, but like, just, yeah. So that's kind of just my thinking around that. I am very grateful for my job, though. I love it. Do really enjoy going to work. But I think, just to add to that, how do I romanticize my 20s? It's just try not to stress as much over things that, doesn't have to be stressed on or stressed about. And I guess I'll just have to wrap it up. I feel like I've kind of just yapped for really long. I'm kind of sleepy now. But I think I'll wrap it up here, guys. It's been fun. I feel like I just kind of went on a tangent here. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this episode. I will be going to the Philippines soon, like I said. So I will try to do a podcast with my cousins and hopefully my grandparents, because I feel like that would be really special. So keep an eye out for that. Other than that, I will be taking myself to bed now. I'm so exhausted. It's been a long day, and I do have another long day of work tomorrow. I have dinner with a friend after work. So, just the thought of that is already making me tired. Anyways, good night, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for spending it with me. Until the next episode. I love you. Bye-bye.